got a guy like that, that's built like that, the 6'4", that we got to transcend and all that.
They got Jordan Davis last season. They bring Fletcher Cox back in Philly. So I'm sitting there like, we need to put something on this offensive line to combat that. What's going on? Welcome back, everybody. Here today to talk about the boys. You know, we got training camp dates finally, and we open up, July 26th. That's when the football season is going to become more exciting. We are officially past the halfway point between
Oh,
there not
time.
being football and there being football. So like we're getting closer, everybody. That's what we're here for. Watch the Dallas Cowboys, try to win it all. Couple of things have happened in the past week. Conversation was had with Demarcus Lawrence on the gap between the Cowboys and Eagles, and if there was one, and he just said, not a huge gap at all. And I agree with him on that. One more thing that came out was Lane Johnson. He listed Demarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons as his top 5 pass rushers. So it's nice to see the respect between those two teams as well. Talk to me a little bit about that gap between Philly and Dallas.
Yeah. With Demarcus Lawrence, I think the craziest thing about that quote is I'm so used to him saying like something crazy,
Mm-hmm.
like giving some teams some bulletin board material. I But honestly, you know what I mean, I don't think nobody kind of uses a huge gap. It just depends on what side of the fence you are. But we all know that, I mean, the Cowboys were there, right there with them. We know what Dak is and what type of threats he present in the division. And honestly, we didn't really get to see that Hurts and Dak matchup head to head. You know what I mean? They lost some pieces, they lost some coordinators. They also gained some pieces, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the Cowboys, we hit some of our biggest weaknesses. We was able to get that number 2 receiver and is getting a Brandon Cooks, who was able to show up that second side. Something that was such a thorn in the side of us, I mean, as Cowboy fans, trying to figure out that second cornerback position, getting that straight and actually getting somebody in the middle, Mozzie and Hankins early in here to show up that run defense. So I think, as far as both teams, I think they're both stacked, but I cannot sit back here and say Philly is head and shoulders above Dallas. You know what I mean? If they feel like that, they're gonna have to come out here and prove it. But I fully expect us to be in the mix, 12, 13 win season, and definitely fighting for the division once again. But see
Yeah,
how did the game shake out once we play them though.
I think, if you look at the AFC, you've got like close to 10 teams that could compete for it all. I think when you look at the NFC, it's Dallas, Philly, and San Francisco in whatever order you put them in, at least on paper ahead of the season. So is there a gap? I don't think so. I mean, if you want to talk gaps and go through it in depth, we can, but I don't think it's necessary. I think, that those two teams play well, and they usually split. Last season we didn't really get to see the better team because of the backup quarterback situations that we were
Facts.
faced with. But we go into ahead of training camp. We got the Cowboys talking. There's rumors coming out with CeeDee Lamb's potential contract being somewhere around the $25-30 million range, and that makes sense. If he did take a step forward last season. Maybe not the one we were looking for, but it wasn't really his fault with the Cooper Rush situation, So talk to me a bit about that CeeDee Lamb contract and how the Cowboys are trying to stay ahead of the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase contracts.
It's absolutely smart. You go in here and you tackle this thing right away. So as far as CeeDee Lamb, you want to not pay him potentially on what he has done, but more so what he's about to do for you. And I think, what I mean, the sky's the limits. As far as like the idea of him playing with Cooper Rush, what I mean, I think that's a fair point that, he hasn't really played with Dak a lot of games up until this point, but when they got together, what I mean, man, it was lights out. So I think you go ahead and get CD out the way. 25, and it may seem like a lot now, but as we know how the market dictates, somebody else will come get a deal. Chase will get paid. What I mean, Jefferson, once he get that deal, boy, he gonna blow the market through the roof.
Right.
So you get in here now and you get him out the way. I think you kind of take care of CD before you get the digs for sure.
The other news would you say that this is a make or break year for the Dallas Cowboys? Dak Prescott, he pretty much came out saying like it's Super Bowl or bust. Like, is he putting an unnecessary weight on his shoulders? And who would be at fault if the Cowboys can't make it all the way?
Unnecessary weight. I kind of do feel like, I mean, as far as talking about it, I don't really think they need to be taught. We already got a lot of pressure on us as it is. We already got the targets on our back. Um, do I think we can win it? Hell yeah, I think we can win the Super Bowl. But I think it's at the time of the year now where maybe it should be all quiet and all, what I mean, all work right now. And obviously the media feeds into that thing. That's kind of what they want to hear. But it's not just him. I heard Dak say it. I heard Michael speak of it. You hear a plethora of Cowboys players talk about me getting to the Super Bowl. And I mean, obviously at the end of the day, I don't mind it because that's what you play for.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're not feeling like that, then you probably shouldn't be in this business. You should fully expect to win that Super Bowl. But it is another side of it where it's just like, hey, they kind of expect that from us anyway. Let's just go ahead and prove it at this point.
I think too, we're at that point in the summertime in between seasons where like every team should feel an itch like they could win it all.
Thanks.
Because if you don't feel that itch, then what did you do this offseason? So until the big lights turn on, week one, every team should be Super Bowl bound.
Right.
You should be making moves towards that destination. I do think with Dak Prescott, his competitive nature kind of forces him to say things like that, and that he thrives that way. But I also, with Mike McCarthy, he put a lot of pressure on himself, I think, as well, getting Kellen Moore out the door and taking over the reins of the offensive play calling. But we keep a Dan Quinn, man, and that keeps our defense where it should be. And if anything, we improve on defense. But that kind of leads me to the 2023 expected starters. Who
Okay.
would you?
Well,
No, go ahead.
before you hit on that, we're gonna catch that. Yeah, you did ask the question like, who is it a make or break year for?
Right.
And for me, Dak Prescott versus McCarthy. I think Dak, being in the position he is, yes, he has a lot of pressure on him having the season that he had. I think a lot of people are kind of just waiting for him to fall. And if he doesn't have a good year, um, I don't think it'll be good for him. Maybe hitting into contract negotiations, but I think it's still a high chance that he's still going to be here, even if he has a bad year. Now, Mike McCarthy, by like you just spoke of, with him losing to Kellen Moore, fully taking the reins, to see us go where we went last year and fall short, I don't think he can afford to have a bad season, especially with a Dan Quinn waiting in the wings. So I would have to lean towards it being a make or break year for Mike McCarthy for
See,
sure.
and actually, I do want to stay on that. I think this is very different than like a Jason Garrett 8-8 season that we were so accustomed to. McCarthy every year seems to have improved the Cowboys a little, but they haven't taken the biggest leap. So I do think, depending on what happens this season, next season we would be an improved football team, and that they're building the culture for the future, and it's slowly working. It's not an instant fix. So I do think, McCarthy probably does have a little more time if things don't go perfect this season. But just in the grand scheme of things, they've tweaked things just a little bit during the off seasons to make us a little better.
And let me go on record to say I don't think we having a bad year. I fully expect us to be there. I think Mike McCarthy will, have us in position. I think that gonna ball out this year for sure. Whether we fall short again of a Super Bowl, we'll see. But we can't go one and done no more.
No,
We got one. Let's at least make a conference. Championship game, AFC, NFC, something. We got to get there at least. And if we get there, I feel like they have a little longer leash heading into the next couple of years.
I agree. Yeah, just make that little bit of progress. Don't try to make all the progress.
Yeah,
But looking at the 2023 roster, who would you say are the top 5 Cowboys, the most important pieces of this football team?
most important. Most important is just like best players or like invaluable. Like if they go down the injury, then we in trouble.
Sure, whichever way you think your top 5 would shake out.
So number one, Michael Parsons, obviously.
Of
If
course.
Michael go down, what I mean, I think it kind of changes everything for the defense. Different people get double team. It'll be like a nice little chain reaction going on. I think him for sure. Micah, I think CeeDee Lamb, in general, I think if he goes out and we're forced to move a Brandon Cooks to number one and Gallup is a number two receiver, I don't. Matter of fact, let me not even say CD Nicks. Maybe I should just start off by saying Dak Prescott number one. Oh, no, two. Because we've seen Cooper Rush go out and we were still able to win some games. So I'm gonna go Micah, Dak, CD for 3, 4. I know it sounds crazy. No, not even right here. Let me Zach Martin for 4. I
Yep.
think it's Zach Martin, same thing. Nice be another chain reaction. We had to move some pieces around. And lastly, I think Tyler Smith. I think with him being as versatile as he is, being able to play left guard, being able to fill in for the inevitable if a Tyron Smith goes down. I just think with him going out and that happens, then my season might just be over. The whole left side of the line might be fucked. So that would be my top five right there.
Mine is the exact same, except my fifth piece I think would have to be Van Der Esch. And the reason for that is like he is the quarterback of our defense. He makes sure everyone's where they're supposed to be. So if that communication falls, who's there to pick it up? I think that gives Micah the opportunity to be himself and not have to think as much. And if Van Der Esch goes down, I don't really know who would take over lining everybody up on that defense. Would it be Micah, and what would that hinder him from being able to do? So I do think Van Der Esch is one of the top 5 pieces. And then an honorable mention, I would say, would be Donovan Wilson, getting him back in there,
Oh yeah.
letting him fly down the line and set the tempo for that defense. Now, is that a replaceable piece? Sure, but I think it is a very valuable one as well.
And I thought something similar. That's the only reason I didn't name like Trayvon Diggs
Right,
and some of those guys, because I feel like those rooms are so deep
right.
that I feel like, the pass rush is still gonna be the pass rush. Stephon Gilmore, he'll be able to slide over. The cornerbacks are deep. We still got Chris, we got Hooker. But for sure, if they go there, it'll be a void for sure.
Talk,
But I think we'll survive though.
Talking about the that secondary depth, as you just mentioned, kind of get into that a little bit as who you think our expected starters are going to be, where everybody's going to end up lining up, and just your thoughts in that room.
If I would have to say some locks, I hate to say this early. Obviously, we know. Let's just start with the safety room. We know Curse, Hooker, and obviously your boy Dono is set in stone, right? But I think Izzy McQuambo this year, he kind of becomes that Swiss Army knife, that player that's just the 12th man. I
Mm-hmm.
think depending on whatever it is, he's a borderline starter for us. So I think Izzy and those four right there is just, what I mean, it is what it is. As far as the cornerback room, it gets kind of tricky. Diggs is obviously Diggs. Gilmore, we brought him in for a reason. Bland is a beast. But behind that, will Jordan Lewis be able to fully recover from this Achilles injury? You know what I mean? And
Right.
if he does, then Jordan Lewis is gonna be fighting for some playing time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then it comes down to a Nation Wright, a Goodwin, back
Mm-hmm.
a special teams battle between him and Kelvin Joseph. And then your boy Eric Scott, who also was getting reps, OTAs and things like that over Kelvin Joseph, who and when you keep listening to Dan Quinn, he talks about this guy a lot, which means he likes him. And if Dan Quinn likes him, then that just may he gonna have to go out there and prove it. But he got a sweet spot for him. So it brings me back to Kelvin Joseph versus Goodwin, right? Is it a opportunity to finally move off of a Goodwin, our special teams ace, if Kelvin Joseph is able to still kind of be serviceable at corner, but still give you good special team reps versus a guy like Goodwin, who, is just strictly special teams and he probably won't find his way on the field.
For me, if you told me 2 years ago we drafted Kelvin Joseph in the second round, and that he sprinkles in on the defense from time to time, but that he's a starter on our special teams for the next 8 to 10 years, like, sign me up. I'll take that all day. There's 3 phases of football, and to get a second round talent with that athleticism, playing gunner on special teams, or even, knocking it out of the park. You got a Matthew Slater over in New England who has made a career out of special teams. And if that's what Kelvin Joseph is, I'll take it all day long. I think you make a good point, because with Goodwin, which one?
Damn, I think it's Goodwin. It's Goodwin.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
CJ
get
Goodwin.
lost.
CJ Goodwin.
I get
Yeah.
lost on that.
You had
With
me think for a
Goodwin,
minute.
we know where his limitations are. Like, he's not going out in coverage, whereas Kelvin can give you a little. So if you can get more out of one person than the other, the money kind of all shakes out the same between those guys. Because Kelvin got a second round pick contract, but to me, you try to move off of who you can with a younger body.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. But it's crazy because it's like Goodwin is so beast on there. He makes so many plays during the game that it's the ones that don't show up in the stat sheet and might, but who's really looking for special team tackles, you know what I mean? But as far as him and the things that he does, it's kind of tough, and they keep bringing him back. So of course they love him over here. And I think Nashon, I think long as he has a strong camp, which I think he will. He seems to be just further ahead of Kelvin Joseph, lengthy guy, and I think Dan Quinn kind of, he kind of likes that about him. He wants these long lengthy guys. I think he has the place. But it might be a situation where Kelvin Joseph may just have a good camp. It may be better, but it may not be enough. So we'll have to see.
I think too, and I mentioned it like way back when. A player I'd like to get my hands on is Isaiah Simmons over in Arizona. Man, that was a top 10 pick and a phenom athlete coming out, but you don't really hear his name much because they still haven't really found out how to use him. They know he's got the athleticism, but his size is weird to where he can't really play linebacker, but his speed isn't really the greatest to play defensive back. But I think that that's one of those players that if Dan Quinn could get his hands on him, man, it would be amazing. Like,
Hey, we might got one, bro. We might got a DeMarvion Overshown here. There might be Isaiah Simmons light. We
that's
might not
fair.
know. But trade options, bro. I love him coming out. I know Dan Quinn would do wonders with him. So obviously if the opportunity presents itself, then shit, have at it. I'll take it in a heartbeat.
Because to me, with our secondary depth, man, I feel like we got a little Legion of Boom cooking in there. Probably not to that extent, but I mean, Dan Quinn did facilitate that, over in Seattle. So I think that's something he has tried to recreate over the years,
Oh yeah.
and that we are one step closer to that this season.
Oh, this defense is gonna be nice. I think going into the season, the most thing it's crazy. Like I used to be all offense, growing up. I used to love the highlights and
Right.
the Dak, the Romo, with Dez and all of those guys, man. But now I would say all that to say Demarcus Ware is probably my favorite Cowboy all time. So crazy. But yeah, I was like an offensive guy, but now, me hitting into these seasons with Dan Quinn and that makeup of our defense, I get excited about that the most.
Of course, and then looking at like you mentioned Damari and Overshown, we got Van Der Esch. So that linebacker room is kind of weird to shake out. But Jaron Curse, he can sprinkle in and play a little sub linebacker as well. That's a big boy. And he can come down in the box and crack skulls. But the linebacker room itself, I'm glad we kicked Anthony Barr. That was a disaster. And I was excited about that move too. That's
Yeah.
what's crazy. He just, now why Minnesota moved off of him. But you get Van Der Esch in there. We got Overshown. We still don't know about Clark and Jabril too much. But come July 26th, man, I'm sure we'll start getting a lot more information on
Man,
this
I can't wait,
linebacker
man.
room.
Sheesh. And I think, man, in general, like the player I'm most excited about this year is Damon Clark.
Hmm.
I really think it's a chance that we could see him, come out there, play lights out, and kind of be like that number one linebacker out here, And you talk about LVE being the quarterback of the defense. I say why not for DeMar Clark if he shows that in training camp and he comes
Yep.
out here, he gets some big boys in front of him. And as far as like Mozzie and Hank is taking up some blocks, let this guy fly around. Man, just be careful out there. The type of trajectory this guy can have finally coming back being his first training camp, the guy didn't even have a training camp last year, was able
Right.
to come in and stick the way he did. I think that says a lot about him and obviously his character and the way he grinded back to get to where he was.
What if you had to name another body that you were super excited or high on this season, who would it be?
Okay, outside of Demar Clark, uh, I think it's the obvious Sam Williams. I think Sam Williams is up for I think a huge year. I'll say this, every damn week if I have to. The belief I have in him and what he can do. It's weird because like will he be able to start? If we got to see what they're gonna do with Micah. I know Micah's bulking up, he's gonna be full time. Is D-Law gonna be over there, obviously? But I think wherever he's gonna be, when we move his packages around, when he get his chance, I think, man, them boys gonna wreak some havoc for sure.
It's Sam Williams for me, man. You get Mozzie Smith to go in there next to a Hankins. You got D-Law still doing his thing,
Yeah,
Micah. And I just think the opportunities are going to be there for Sam Williams. He's a first round talent that we scooped in the second round, so kind of a steal. But I think, it's not out of the realm of possibility for a double digit sack year for Sam Williams.
yeah. Sam gonna be a beast. That's probably my two most excited to see. I think the person I would say a wait and see would be a Jake Ferguson. I'm excited about him, but I kind of just want to wait till he
Hmm.
get out there and get those reps in and kind of see, where he fits in this offense because I think he could be a beast as well.
I agree. Before we get out of here, we've talked previously about some of the best and worst memories as a Cowboys fan, and just talk to me a bit about some of your worst memories as a Cowboys fan.
Worst memory. It's crazy. I think two of them obviously fall within Green Bay. You know what I mean? Playoff games, obviously the Dez Carter catch, I think for a lot of people, you know what I mean, that one hurt. I was a kid at the time. I think I damn near punched a hole in the wall. You know what I mean? I don't get that agitated and stuff about games no more. But you know what I mean, kind of set the, you know what I mean, set the stone for me, man. That hurt. Obviously, the Aaron Rodgers when, you know what I mean, he ran out of the pocket and hit what was the tight end on the sideline?
Jared Cook.
Jared Cook, the toe tap. Oh my God, that hurt.
That hurt bad.
That hurt.
That sucked.
The Matt Stafford, the fake spike and jump over on us.
Oh,
was
yep.
it was either for a first down or something. I know it kind of sealed the game for us. That one hurt.
No, it was
Hill,
a fake spike touchdown. That's what it was.
Right,
yep.
Touchdown. Tyreek Hill before halftime.
Yeah, that hurt too. That was so stupid.
I remember Kelvin Johnson lighting us up for 329 yards.
Yep.
We couldn't do nothing about him. That was kind of sad to see. Damn, man, it's so many as a Cowboy fan, man.
No,
and I would have to say the Tony Romo. You know what I mean? Obviously missing, man. Nobody can forget that. You know what I mean? Missing that field goal snap and fumbling the damn ball.
Oh, Seattle.
Pretty much losing a playoff game because of that. And then I would have to go for Romo. One of my memories is him just dueling Peyton Manning. They going back and forth. It was like 50-something to 50-something. He had probably like the flawless game, goes in overtime, throws the pick to Aqib Talib at the end of the game and seals it for us right there. I know that pissed me off a lot too. What's some of your moments?
You actually hit pretty much all of them there, but the worst one of all time for me was the Aqib Talib pick six, man. You know, we were sitting there up and down. We're scoring. We're giving up scores. Like it's going, but it's exciting. And then we're right there, you know, in the red zone with the opportunity to finally win this game, beat Peyton Manning, like you said, in overtime. And then that pick six to Aqib Talib, man, that was a heartbreaking moment. One more that sticks out to me, man, and I don't know if you remember this one. It was the year that Tony Romo went down and we had Castle and Whedon, and we were playing the Saints. We went into overtime, and we had no business going to overtime. Like, we were not playing well, but it was like we could get this win here, and it was a screen pass or just a little swing route to, I think it was CJ Spiller from Drew Brees. And he took it like 80 yards to the house, like first play after overtime started. And we're just like, okay, we're here. We just shut him down real quick, go score. And like an 80-yard like little wheel route to the house and lights out, man. And I think that one hurt a little more too, because I had a Saints fan over at the house watching the game with me that day, you know.
Oh, so yeah, that's this thing.
So I was talking my shit, and then I got shut up real quick.
Yeah, season was terrible for me. I remember like Bill Jones talking, like Brandon Wheaton throw the best ball I ever seen. I was just like, bro, like we not doing this.
Jerry just be saying shit.
That was a tough season to get through for sure. But hey, look, we got a deck and a Zeke out of that, so I'm happy. But man, those Romo moments and the times that Romo was actually in there fully entrenched, man, Romo was a beast, man.
Absolutely.
Especially my Dez, man. I love Dez.
Dez was a monster, man. I miss Dez sometimes. But before we get out of here, you got any final topics to hit on?
Nah, I would say I think we pretty much touched on everything. Like we gearing up for training camp. You know, we have to see if anything else is coming out as far as these contract negotiations. Has been a little slow. I still don't think we're done yet as far as the free agent market. I'm hoping we can go and look at a guy like Deion Jones, maybe bring him in. You know what I mean? I think we out on Zeke. I'm hearing reports that, you know, we was leaning one way, now it seems like we're leaning another way. So we'll see how that shake out. But I mean, in general, man, I think, you know, we are where we are. I'm excited to be here. We less than a month away. Let's get there, man. It's the quest for 6. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Stay tuned. Hit us in that DM for sure. And you know what I mean, we'll have some fun stuff for y'all coming up soon.